Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year to everyone. Sorry for the delay. I was working through some technical issues that I normally don't have, but this time it was an issue. Now it's solved, and now I'm here to talk to you guys about my weekend gaming. And I only had one game this weekend, but what a game it was. I'm going to share that with you all tonight about the game and how the game wasn't the game that I was going to run, but that's okay. And I also want to talk to you a little about my process of how I teach new players how to play, and maybe you could have you can pick up some tips there if you're a brand new dungeon master, or even if you're an old dungeon master like me. Maybe there's something there that will work for you as well. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining, hanging out for a little while. Like I said, we're going to get started here in just a second. So if you're joining in, welcome. And like I said, Happy New Year to you. And yeah, lots of good stuff. So I am anxiously awaiting some games that are coming up, and I've set my my gaming what do I say? My gaming goals, my RPG goals for the new year, and I will share that in an upcoming video. And so I'm excited about that. And if you have questions along the way, of course, feel free to ask. Just jump into the chat there and ask your questions. So let's go ahead and get started. And so, like this past Saturday, I had a game for Learn to Play. It was a Learn to Play, new players, some who had not played in a long time, and some who had not played at all. I had 3 people join, and I play at my local gaming store, and I charge for new players. Well, I charge for everybody when I run games there, because that's just my side hustle, and I get a little gas money. But I try to bring as much value when I do a Learn to Play, and Learn to Plays are critical, I believe, in bringing new people into the hobby. And so I want to do a great job with new players. New players are critical to the hobby, becoming what it is, because they bring in that new energy, that new excitement and enthusiasm. And that's what I had with this group. I had 2 adults. One was a dad and his son who was 10, and they were a fantastic group of people. I mean, they just got into it. And with Learn to Plays, I don't do age groups. Like, I don't do an adult Learn to Play or a kids Learn to Play, because once you start doing that, first of all, that's just more time on me. And the other thing is that, I think people need to learn how to get along. Right now, when I run an adventure, I go ahead and I have an adult group or a teen group or a kid group. I try to keep those groups separate in that regard, only because some adults don't like playing with children, and there's some children that don't like playing with adults. They like to play with their peers just like adults do. And so I try to accommodate that. But Learn to Plays, listen, you're showing up to learn how to play. It's not a commitment, it's not a campaign, it's not anything like that. So when they're doing that, it's a Learn to Play is just, hey, you can put up with each other for 3 hours, okay? It's fine. You'll be okay. All right. So let me talk first about the adventure we did. Now, let me show you the adventure we were going to do. This adventure here, right here, this adventure right here is a great adventure. I'm really enjoying the old Goodman games. This is fairly old. This is probably, I don't know, I want to say 7 years old. But this adventure, and also an adventure called Glitter Dome, I think these adventures are entertaining. I think they cover the 3 pillars of role-playing, which is role-playing, exploration, and combat. I think they offer some layers to it, and I just think it's a lot of fun. I think these adventures are really good. So if you're looking for, that kind of adventure, I recommend any of the old Goodman Games adventures. And this, the Fey Sisters Fate, that's the game we were supposed to play. That's the game I was setting up. So little did I know that when I was setting up this adventure, I said, okay, we need a little intro. I said, okay, we'll make it to where the players are, they have to get how do I get them to town? And I could have just said, hey, you guys are running into town and this is what happens. but that's not what happened. So so it turned into a thing. So with the time we had left, I think it took us about 30 to 40 minutes to create characters. And you know, on the first time for new people playing characters, I take my time with it. I explain things as I go along, so it takes a little bit of time to do that. Because I think there's a difference between those who want to play D&D and those who want to learn D&D. And this is a learn to play, so I teach them by rolling up characters. And I think that's just an important skill. I mean, listen, if things like D&D Beyond ever went away, or your internet's down, or your phone gets smashed, and you don't have any tools to create that character or run your character off digital, you always have paper and pencil to be able to roll up your character. And so I think that's just a valuable tool for them to learn. So I make sure that they know how to roll up a character, and they did a great job. Like I said, we took about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 around that time. And then with the rest of the time we had, I said, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to we'll start it off. How do I get them to town? I wanted a fast start, right? A fast start, and this is something that he calls it a strong start. Is Sly Flourish, Mike Shea? He calls it a strong start. I call it a fast start. But a fast start, I wanted them to be in the mix with what was going on. It was really simple, and if I have the cards here, whatever I used, I'd show you. But I don't think. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this was supposed to be just a simple. You're in the woods, and I show them that they are looking at this vine, this assassin vine, and this assassin vine is just sitting there, and they're supposed to bring. Let me show you there. This assassin vine, and they're supposed to bring this back to a alchemist so that he can make potions and things of that nature. And what turned out to be, it took them probably 30 minutes to deal with this, because either they rolled bad, or they were. The best part about this is, and I didn't care. I didn't care that whether we got to this adventure right here or not. If we did, we did. That was going to be fine. But what did happen was that a whole nother thing happened, and they got to do exploration, role play, and combat, which is the whole goal, is to kind of run the gambit, so that each person kind of gets their spotlight. Maybe they're really combat heavy, maybe they're role play focused, maybe they are, any of those things. So I want to help a new player, get into that mindset of whatever it is they like. And so like I said, they're after this assassin vine. I said, you're in the woods, you're looking at this assassin vine, and I'm showing the assassin vine scooping up animals, eating it, rabbits or a rat or something like that. And then they start asking a lot of questions. Well, where is its source of nutrients, or what are we supposed to get? And they're asking a lot of great questions that players should ask if they're going to try to take this thing back to the alchemist to do the potions and those things. Well, they go ahead and they do a lot of great role play. First of all, I believe there was a cleric, a rogue, and a druid, and that's a really good set of characters there to bring into the woods, and so they're trying to get the assassin vine, and the assassin vine is doing all kinds of things. It's they're throwing daggers at it. It's catching the daggers, trying to eat it. It's I don't like that. They throw it away, and all these things are happening. Just tremendous fun for them. It took a long time. I'm going to say it took 45 minutes probably to resolve this exploration, role play, combat scenario that we had going. Here's the deal, though. I didn't know what was going to happen next. Like, what are we going to do with this? We have an hour. So after this, it took us the 40 minutes to roll the character. It took us about 45 minutes to role play this out, to do this little scenario. And then what were they supposed to do with it? Where was I going to take them? I had nothing as far as the who they were going to bring it back to. So I took the villains that we had, and I chose, let's see here, I chose the kind of like bullywugs. I chose like frog people. And the frog people were, let's see if I can find my frog people here. I'll show you. Here we go. My frog people here, the Bogarts, I think it is. Let me see here. Here we go. Yeah, the Bogard. And there we are. And these nice little people were waiting for them back at the alchemist shop. And the alchemist shop, I'm just made up on the fly. And when they got there, the alchemist was being held hostage by the frog people. And there's two frog people, and they had the vat in the back of the alchemist store, and he was chained up and going to be dropped into a vat. And they thought of all kinds of creative ideas. They snuck in, they used their skills, they unlocked doors, really did some really smart things. And then they get to the back, and the rogue says, "Well, we've probably been here before." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's dark. You can't. I know you have night vision and all that, but everything's kind of outlined in gray. You can't really see kind of what everything is." So he says, "I'll take a random shot." And you had one of the creatures. There was two frogs and kind of this enforcer that I had here was kind of like a little ogre that they had that was with them. And this thing came up and said, "Hey, give me your little the stuff that you have here. We need that. We need that for our mission, for our thing we're doing." And so the rogue said, "Well, I'll go ahead and I'll throw the dagger," and it throws it behind, uses crossbow. Shot whatever it is was behind the little runty ogre, and the chemical, whatever it was, I rolled it on a chart, and it came up to be something monstrous, like some liquid that turns you into some sort of monstrous being, and I had it turn him into this. And I did not use real stats for this. I did not use real Froghemoth stats. And once again, first level. Took it easy on them, made it difficult but not impossible. But once they saw this, their brains just went, "What did we do?" And now it's chaos, because now this is no longer the little ogre guy. So it's just randomly lashing out. It's attacking the frog people. It's doing all this stuff. And they eventually drop the chain, and the poor alchemist goes down into the vat, and they pull him up, and he's in skeleton form. And the funny thing is, I just went, like I said, this is a learn to play. This is not a campaign. They'll never be back in that same group again. So I had the alchemist just kind of like in skull formation, like in full skeleton, just kind of like look over at them and like give them that really kind of a look. And so, that could have been a whole backstory as well as to why did he survive that? Why is he a skeleton? But at the end of the adventure, I just, we went through some things, and they got their coins and got their money, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to play, because when you have people who are there learning to play, they're probably some of my favorite people to play with. Because some are so brand new, they don't know all the nonsense that happens on YouTube, right? They don't know all the things that we know because we watch videos, and they don't know who, companies are, and they don't know what's happening with this and that, and I don't tell them about it. I play my game. That's what I do, right? And so they had a ton of fun, and my hope is that they're going to come back to the table at some point through another adventure. So I'll go ahead and use, if you have questions about anything that I'm about to share with you, feel free to ask in the chat, and I welcome you guys in. Thank you for being here, those that are viewing at the moment. And I'm going to go through just my little list of what I do for new players. And this will probably be a separate video that will come out somewhere on the channel. I'll have another video coming out this week. I noticed that in the community tab, I asked you, how many weeks do you think I can go consistently put up a video? And you said 3 to 5, which I thought was generous, so I want to say thank you. It's middle of the road, 3 to 5. I said yes, and I say thank you, and I'm going to do my best to exceed that. Okay, I'm going to do my best to exceed 3 to 5 videos, because I'll be honest with you, I slacked on the latter half of 2023. I'm just not going to let that happen in 2024. So appreciate you hanging and sticking with me. Okay, all right. Let's move on. So let's go to the first thing I do. The first thing I do is I say, go ahead, let's choose a race. Now, with new players, I limit their choices. I have all the races. I have these cards, and if you've never seen these cards that I use, I go ahead and I, um, you know, print off these cards to where they can choose and see what all the benefits are of that particular race. So we had a halfling, we had a human, we had an elf, and we had a dwarf. And by the way, one of the things that I felt that was a lot of fun was the quote of the night is the dwarf rogue, before he went into action, said, "It's dwarfin' time." Like, what? You know what I'm thinking, and you're probably thinking the same thing. It's like, listen, if you had like 5 dwarves, and you said it's dwarfin' time, you want to see those dwarves come together and form and shape something, right? Because that's what I'd be doing. And so when I go ahead and I give the cards, I pass them out. Like I said, limiting choices is good for new players. You don't want to give them 10 different things to choose from. That comes later in some sort of maybe intermediate, if you're doing where you're rolling up characters, where you say for your adventure, and if you're running the table, if you're the DM, you're allowed to limit the kinds of races, or I know that like people like Professor Dungeon Master only does humans. Okay, and mostly because he doesn't particularly like dark vision and things of that nature, and I can understand that. I make my dark vision where it's not super clear; it's more of an outline type of thing. You can't see; it's not HD, right? You can get a vibe, you can get a feel. So it's not full like I see this and that darkness doesn't affect me. I try to keep it somewhat realistic if you're going to have that. But yeah, I have the races and I let them choose based on those 4, based on the number of players. So let's say I have 3 players. I had like 4 or 5 choices they could choose from. I don't put it all out there because I don't want to complicate it for them. I don't want them to have to keep up with things. Like, if you're an Aarakocra and you fly, right? So, and that's cool, but don't focus on the flying. You're here to learn some skills that I think are going to be important to basic adventuring. I don't want to give you, those type of things just so you could focus, because it's fun to fly. But in this particular adventure too, there was no flying necessary. It just wasn't a part of the deal. So that is the first thing I do. The second thing I do is we go ahead and we choose a class. And we choose a class that, and once again, I limit their choices on classes. So I offered them things like, let's see, I offered them a cleric, a rogue, a druid, and a fighter, because the scenario lent itself to that. Having a druid and a cleric and so all of that certainly came in handy. Offering a cleric, I think, to new players is good, and whether they take it or not is up to them. But I think it's a good opportunity for anybody that likes that helping class that can help other players, and there are folks who enjoy doing that. And so I do the same thing. I go give them their race, their class, and then the next thing I offer them is I give them I go ahead and let them roll for their abilities. So when they roll for their abilities, I give them the standard 4 d6 and remove 1. I give them like a little blank card, and I say, hey, don't put it on your paper yet. Put it off to the side. And I do all this to build up so that you know that you've already picked your race and your class. Now you have these numbers to kind of plug in to who you want to be. So there's a process in my brain as to how this is going to work, because I want them to build on top of each other, right? So if they got their race, they know what that is, they know what their class is. Now they can put numbers. Say, okay, what kind of fighter do I want to be? Do I want to put it in my dex and my strength, or whatever you want to put it into, right? And I help them focus that, because that's what their class cards tell them too, that this is where your sweet spots are as your class. And so once they roll for their abilities, I go ahead and have them choose a background. Okay, now that you know that you're a fighter, you're a dwarf fighter, a dwarf rogue, let's say, and you're a dwarf rogue, what's your background? And, I give them options. I say, what did you do before you were adventuring? And the 10-year-old, once again, gotta love 10-year-olds. The 10-year-old says, I was exiled. Out of nowhere, he just takes this and runs with it. He says, I was exiled. And I said, why were you exiled? because I was selling um, illegal, harmful plants. Being a druid, I said, like plants that eat people. He said, no, plants that were poisonous. I said, okay, that's good. That's fair. That's fair. So this is before we ever get to whatever the adventure is, which was of course trying to get this, trying to get this assassin vine, which works out perfectly that he knew what to do with this. He would know, right? So I have them choose their backgrounds. Because it then informs what they're going to do. And so I give them a list. Were you a baker? Were you, did you work? Were you a locksmith or a city guard? And I have cards and things like that. I didn't pass out this time. I let them kind of let their imagination run with that. So I let them choose their background. Then I say, go ahead and choose your equipment. Now, by equipment, I give them a choice depending on what they're doing. So I have 2 packs here that that I offer them, and I think I have another one, and I don't think I brought that one in with me, but there's a priest pack, but I give them an explorer's pack. Why? Because I don't want to have them spending all this time shopping. It's just not, if they want to buy something after I give them this, then that's fine. And I offer them either an explorer pack or a dungeon pack, right? And then I give them a choice. Like I said, if there's a priest, I'll have a priest pack. If there's a bard, I'll give it an entertainment pack. I got these off of Etsy. These are really, really sharp. I really do enjoy doing those. And then after I give them their packs, then I say, okay, you're going to choose your armor and you're going to choose your weapons. Okay. And you're going to choose, part of your equipment is you're going to choose your armor and you're going to choose your weapon. And so once we figure that out and they know where to plug in their armor class and they know where to, what kind of weapon they want to fight with, and the 10-year-old wants 2 sides connected with a chain. Okay, that's the kind of stuff you want. That's where I think the imagination is so strong with these 10-year-olds, man. And, upward 10, 11, 12, if they're into it, man, they're going to come up with some stuff. And I love it. It inspires me because they are just letting their imagination run wild. And so I do that, and then after that I have them roll for wealth, and how much money do they have in their pocket? What do they bring with them? And so then they can buy stuff on the road. I tell them it costs so much, whatever it is. So now then they have some a little ching in their pocket, right? And then after they roll for wealth, we go ahead and do spells. Now, what I've started doing with spells is now in this case, because I only had 3 people and I only had 1 spellcaster, I keep all my spells in kind of a book, like a baseball card or card collector's type of thing, and I let them go through it, and I'll let them pick their spells. And it was an adult who did it, so I felt good about them taking the time to really kind of pick what they wanted. I said you get 3, cantrips and 2 spells. Now, I also I put my spells in these card sleeves here, and I'm going to do different colors in the future here based on what class you are, whether you're a sorcerer or a wizard, which there's going to be arcana anyway, but whether you're a wizard or a cleric or a druid. And for the druid, I had cards already ready for them. So I had things like Druidcraft, and I gave them a set. So if you're learning to play, I go ahead and either choices of, hey, choose your stuff, or I have a set ready. So I'll say, just for the sake of time, I say here's your spell pack, and I'll pick 3 cantrips and 2 spells that they first level spells they can use, and then they can be able to move quickly. They already know they can spend more time studying their spells that they have than choosing them, because that can take up a little bit of time, and I'm trying to get them to the table as quickly as possible. And so I recommend using these type of cards and having them preset. Once again, if I'm playing an adventure where, especially if I'm saying, hey, like if I'm saying you want to play Dungeons and Dragons and you bring your own character and all that stuff, that's one thing. But for the sake of time, I say here, if it's a pre-gen character, I'll give them a pre-gen character, and I will give them a spell pack of 5 cards, usually 3 cantrips and 2 spells, whatever first level is, and I'll go ahead and create that for them. And then they have, once again, they can get into the game faster without worrying about all the minutia of, all that, that they don't have to spend a time, because they don't know what they're looking at anyway. I'm just saying, here's your stuff, and you're going to be fine. Okay. All right. So after I give them their spells, I go ahead and say choose a name. Now, Paul, you say, can you choose a name first? Sure. Except you don't know. I want to give them the option of saying, look, I want to name my character with the character I've created. I want to name, if it's a dwarf rogue, well, then I know now what I could name him. Something fun, something of those things. If you pick the name beforehand, well, then you have to build according to that name, maybe. But I try to go ahead, like I said, I build it in order to where they're not so focused on the name, but they're focused on building the character, and then they can name it. Okay, so that is that. And then I say choose motivation. What is your motivation? Why are you out here adventuring? Or we're on the character sheet. It'll give you your bonds and those things. And for this particular, for learn to play, it's not as important. But I ask them things like, well, how do you know each other? Are you friends? Have you been on missions together and things like that? But then I give them some, other motivations. And one that I did not use yesterday, but because I didn't need to, but one I like to use is ask your character, what will your character never do? And what will your character always do? Which kind of cements their convictions in a way, right? And says, hey, this is my character. They're always going to go for the gold. They're always going to go for that no matter what. They are never going to sell out their friends, right? So they have an always and they have a never. And then after that, we get into the game, and that's where we started. But that's just my basic breakdown of how, because I build it I let them build their character in layers. I take time with it, and like I said, it took 30 to 40 minutes last time. That's not average, but I think everybody was just kind of, figuring things out, which is fine. Hey, listen, I'm there for them. They're not there for me. I'll be as patient with them as they want me to be. I'll answer as many questions. And I told them, I said, look, the process gets faster. So now that you know, and the fact that they both, the two dads that were there owned, the one dad and the guy was there, had their own player's handbook. But so I try to have tools at the table like these cards, to where they don't have to do a lot of, looking through the books, all that kind of stuff. Another thing I did, I can show you this. I say finally, but I did get to use, these cards are from Runehammer, and I use these cards to show them the difficulty challenge. In other words, I'm explaining to them and saying, hey, this is the number you want to roll over. So it gives them something to focus on of what they're looking at, versus me being secretive and saying, well, I can't tell you what the difficulty challenge is. It doesn't matter. If it's a learn to play, go ahead and tell them. It doesn't matter. And it gives them something to dial in and something that they're shooting for. Or if they say, hey, is there something that would give me advantage, or something like that. And then the other thing I like to do is I like to start them off with a inspiration. And I love using bottle caps. I got this from a podcast. It was for Pathfinder, and I can't remember the name of it at the time. But anyway, they used to do bottle caps, and they'd say, hey, bottle cap. And I just thought that was a great idea. So I used, just got some bottle caps and said, hey, we're going to use that as our inspiration. You can cash that in to reroll dice or to do something else. And they were able to use them. So I was excited they remembered that to do them. And so I think overall, I think they enjoyed the game, and they said nice things about me online, which is cool. And so that's how I teach new players how to play. But I love your feedback. What is something you do with your new players? What are some of the things time and tested that you do to help facilitate gameplay with your players, new players that you play with? I'm always open to suggestions. And listen, if you watch this and you're not a subscriber yet, would love for you to be a subscriber. Go ahead and click that subscribe button down there. And if you like the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. That tells me you like the video and you want more of them. But yeah, so once again, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out, being a part of the live stream tonight. More videos to come. I'm working on a lot of things, and I'll just show you very quickly something that came in the mail. My backing of Shadow Dark came in, so I'm excited for that, to share that with you all, as well as a couple of other things. So, but that is it for tonight, everybody. Enjoy your evening. Go watch some football, whatever it is you got planned for the rest of the night, and hopefully I will see you guys throughout the week. And feel free to leave some comments. Talk to you guys later. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.